What is up, Cougar Central? We got a lot to talk about on this week's podcast with y'all. We had a disappointing loss to Texas Tech University this week, sad times, and that led to a little bit of a drop in the polls, maybe a little undeserved by our humble opinion. However, on the bright side, BYU basketball had a great game last night against Delaware, and we're getting pumped up for this UConn game coming up this weekend. All that and more right here on Cougar Central. Connor, our predictions on Texas Tech were off. Badly off.
Yeah.
What went wrong?
So, if I'm being honest, I didn't think BYU was going to beat Texas Tech, but I thought it'd be a close game, and it was not a close game. Watching it in the first half, BYU's defense was pretty good. Texas Tech's defense is elite. That's the difference between the two teams right there. Just Texas Tech's strength is better than BYU's strength. But then BYU just kept shooting themselves in the foot. They had so many special teams problems. They couldn't run the ball or really throw the ball. They had drops on offense. They kept creating turnovers, and Texas Tech was just taking advantage of it. And even though their offense was getting stopped a lot of the time, they would still get maybe one chunk play or such good field position that they would at least be able to get a field goal out of it. And then BYU wasn't able to score until halfway through the fourth quarter, and the game was basically already over at that point.
For sure. I think the biggest thing to talk about here, right, we had LJ Martin had an injury right before the bye week after that Iowa State game. And Satake said, hey, he's going to be coming back. He's going to be looking good. He did not look good out there. Texas Tech held him to 35 yards, and that's over 10 carries. That is not a good stat line by any means. He looked like he might have been still a little bit injured, honestly. I think that's definitely a possibility. But also I think, that Texas Tech defense actually was just, oh, shoot. Hold up one second, ladies and gentlemen. Technical difficulties. We are back. Anyways, we'll continue on from there. But that is just an elite defense. What they were able to pull off there and holding him, it was impressive. I can't even lie.
Yeah. And, they kind of started, they're like, Bear, run the ball since LJ's hurt still.
Yep.
And Bear Bachmeyer could just not get anything. He had 11 carries for 12 yards. He was just getting bottled up. Texas Tech knew it was coming. It was not a good game all around. JoJo Phillips returned. He was supposed to be in the starting lineup at the beginning of the season. He had one big drop. It was going to go for 20 or more. So he ended up only logging one catch for 6 yards. So that was a little disappointing to see too. Just not a good game. BYU has never won when game day comes. So, maybe it's the game day curse. Who knows?
Well, you have to look around the hype of this Texas Tech game. I don't think we really realized what was going down. I saw they got the new uniforms that kind of look like the Bills ones, like the Ice Cold Mafia. I was like, oh, that's really cool, this whiteout. I didn't realize, with College Game Day, they were bringing Patrick Mahomes, a Texas Tech alumni, who actually apparently helped design those uniforms. Talk about hype behind a game. That stadium was going crazy about this. And so I think, that's just a big part of it as well, is, there was so much hype around Texas Tech. When you have that kind of momentum in a stadium, crazy things happen.
And Texas Tech showed that they are one of the top teams in college football. Honestly, national championship contender. Seriously, they're going to be in the playoffs. They'll probably win the Big 12 championship. As much as I want BYU in it, if it's BYU and Texas Tech again in the Big 12 championship, Texas Tech is probably going to win, and then that's also going to hurt the Big 12 because people already is disrespecting them.
For sure.
The college football playoff.
And let's see if people.
Yeah.
One thing I also want to point out, too, this was something... So originally on the last podcast, I'd said if BYU can get them... It'll come back. If BYU can get Texas Tech to split the ball between multiple receivers and tight ends and other receivers, then that's going to allow the defense to really put some action down. The issue I didn't realize is they have an elite offense, actually. I was thinking you got Chase Roberts out there, you got a couple of great guys. Oh, no, Chase Roberts is our guy. Thank goodness. Oh, thank goodness. But Cole Eakin and Caleb Douglas over on Texas Tech. And I thought if you could just split the carries between everybody else, you're not going to have as many issues, and we can hold them back because we have an elite defense, I think, actually. BYU still does. That was not the case, though. They split that ball between multiple people, and I think that really messed them up. I think it really did. It was well done, well executed by Texas Tech. I tip my hat off to you. Frick your tortillas, but gosh, you got to respect game when you see game, you know?
Yeah, they're really good. BYU, really good defense. Texas Tech has a better defense. BYU made way more mistakes, and that was the only chance they were going to have in this game if they made Texas Tech make mistakes. So it kind of went down not the way I was predicting. The outcome is a little more what I was predicting, a Texas Tech win, but blowout loss. So BYU did not cover on the betting line. I thought they would.
Yeah, and so this then comes, if you bet on against BYU this week, good for you. You hit hard. Congratulations, I guess.
Yeah, and also, so they played Texas Tech. Their next game is TCU. And this one's going to be pretty interesting because TCU in the beginning of the season, they were a top 25 team. They've recently fallen off a little bit. They lost their last game to Iowa State, who ended up being a tough game for BYU, especially in that first half.
Yeah.
But TCU is still a good team. They're kind of underlooked because they're 6-3, but BYU's better than them. But it'll still probably be a pretty close and good game. It's going to be a competitive game coming up.
For sure, I think looking at the path, right? Because I think we're at this point now with the Texas Tech loss. The question is, how do we get to the playoffs? It's not necessarily how far do we get in the playoffs at this moment. It's just how do we get to the playoffs. Just get a position in there. That's important right now.
Yeah.
Winning against TCU, you can't afford a loss to TCU in Cincinnati now.
Yeah, you can't afford a loss to anyone.
There's just you can't. That's the sad thing about it is you really can't. Now, the one thing I do like about TCU in this game is that Texas Christian University, right? Mm-hmm. TCU has a high average on their receivers and on their rushers, right? So we have some receivers hitting 18 yards averaging a carry. Wild numbers, crazy stuff. But they're actually not putting up that much yards. Mm-hmm. And it's really only between a couple players that they're really carrying the bulk of the team. And so I think that could be very beneficial here in the long run for BYU during this game.
Yeah, and generally TCU isn't putting up that many points. Looking at their previous games, they hit a 42 bomb against Baylor, and that was kind of an anomaly. They've hit 35 max or low 20s the rest of the season. So BYU's generally not a insane scoring offense. So I think it will be close. TCU can score, but also TCU hasn't played a team a defense like BYU because they haven't played Texas Tech. And BYU is the next closest defense to Texas Tech in this conference. So ultimately, they'll probably be able to shut TCU down unless they have another off game.
Exactly. So now the question is, actually, Connor, I know you probably got a little rant coming here. I smell it, I sell it coming. Obviously, with this loss to Texas Tech University, BYU drops in the polls. Now, we didn't realize how far they would drop in the polls. I thought they'd probably sit around 10 was kind of my guess. Drop 2 or 3 spots. 5 spots.
Yeah.
5 spots in the CFP poll with now Texas Tech and Notre Dame rated above. Connor, take it away.
Yeah, so I thought BYU would be around 10 also because the thing was they beat Utah. Utah's at 13. That was kind of the net. You can't drop below Utah because you beat them. And then Texas Tech, it's all right, we were number 8. It was a top 10 matchup. Let's bump them up to 6. I can see that. BYU is the number 7 team.
Yep.
Dropping BYU then to 12 after it being a top 10 matchup and you're saying, oh, you lost to the number 6 team in the nation. Why aren't you dropping them 3 spots? Why are you dropping them 5? You're giving Texas and Oklahoma, who had bye weeks.
Literally, Texas and Oklahoma beat the bye week.
Yeah, they had bye weeks, and they moved up 2 spots. Notre Dame, they blew out Navy. Navy's not that good.
Yeah.
Notre Dame moves up another spot. Notre Dame, they've lost to Texas A&M and Miami. Miami's number 15.
Well, and I think, looking at all this, you have to understand, there's another team in here that kind of slides underneath the radar.
Yeah, freaking Oregon.
Freaking Oregon. Like, you have to understand, I come from Oregon, so by birth, I'm supposed to be an Oregon fan, right? I'm defecting at the moment. Oregon does not deserve to be up there. Wins are wins. Do not get me wrong. How many quality wins do they have? Against top 10?
Zero. How many top 25 wins do they have now? Zero. They had one against Iowa. Iowa's just like popped into the top 25 last week out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And now they're out again. So like, Oregon, like, what were you at last week? Number 9 were they at? I think so.
8 or 9, yeah.
They were like at number 9. They still move up a spot. Sure, you can move up a spot for beating Iowa, but you shouldn't be number 8. And neither should Texas be number 10 or Oklahoma. Well, here's my main thing. I'm fine with like how these rankings look, except BYU. Like,
Yep.
drop out one of these other teams and give them some respect. BYU has one loss. Their best win is against Utah, the number 13 team. That's better than Notre Dame's best win. Notre Dame's best win was USC.
Ooh.
Notre Dame has lost 2 games. BYU has lost 1 to the number 6 team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame lost to the number 15 team. Like, it's Texas. Texas has barely been squeaking out wins. They lost to Ohio State. They lost to, I don't even know who else it was, but they barely squeaked out against Mississippi State, barely squeaked out against Kentucky. Their best win is Oklahoma, who's number 11 somehow. The one bright spot about this is that Oklahoma and Texas are soon going to drop out because they're playing Georgia and Alabama and all those teams.
Big lineup teams.
Yeah.
Which Georgia's always an interesting one, too. They just kind of sit there.
Yeah.
They always do. I always find that interesting about the CFPs. It's like Georgia just kind of like sits there and doesn't question it. It's just like, oh, yeah, you're Georgia. You belong in the top 5. Haha, that's what you do. But then they come in and I think it's going to be interesting to see these games with Texas and Oklahoma playing teams like Georgia and Alabama and just see what that does.
The SEC is dominating the top 10 like usual. We thought the Big 12 was getting respect last rankings. Now it's kind of, I'm not surprised by it. Like, I don't want to say that I don't want to say I hate the CFP rankings and like the CFP rankings are always bad. I don't like saying that.
No.
But like, why is it never good? Like,
Yep.
Why are these conferences not getting fair play, basically? It's just, you're looking at it, one loss versus all these 2-loss teams, and the 1-loss team is still below, even though they have a better win against all these other teams. Like Oregon, 1-loss team. Okay, who's your best win? Iowa, who's now not in the top 25. Notre Dame, your best win. USC. Ooh.
Where are they? Where's USC?
Yeah, USC's down at 17. While BYU's best win, Utah. Ooh, we also have one less loss. Our one loss is a super quality loss at number 6, but now we're at number 12. What is going on?
So basically, BYU, please, we are begging you, beat TCU this week.
Yeah.
For the sanity, just saw what you dropped, maybe only 1 spot instead of 4 for winning to TCU, against TCU. But, sad times, but we're excited to see how TCU plays out this week. We're really hoping for just a good quality win. I think it will be this week.
BYU just needs to bump into the top 10, and then you're in the college football playoff rankings right now. Because right now, Miami's taking that other spot at 15, and now South Florida is taking the group of 5 spot.
Which I'm okay with South Florida. We have some mad respect for our South Florida Bulls.
Yeah.
But we don't want to see them there if it means BYU's out. Just putting that out there. Alrighty, well, we're going to go ahead and switch on over now. BYU men's basketball played the Delaware Blue Fightin' Hens last night. Interesting start to the game. Very, very intriguing start. It kind of looks crazy, actually. I was kind of concerned for a second there because Delaware came out of the gate with 13 points. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what is going on? A steal right off the tip-off for a dunk. And I was like, oh, okay, those things happen. Haha, that's fun. Good for you. And then it just kept going. And they were smacking threes all night. It was kind of scary, actually. Now, of course, BYU came out on top of the win, 85-68. So if you look at just that, that's a pretty good win. You can't even lie. Sitting there around 20-point differential, that's great. Connor, what did we learn from this game, though? What happened?
So, yeah, BYU was down like 10 most of the first half, and they went into halftime down 3. They went on a little bit of a run. But the main thing with college basketball, I was telling Parker this the whole first half, I wasn't scared that BYU was down because that's just kind of how college basketball is. There's some weirdly close games, and then usually in the second half, the better team will put it together and start to do what they do. And that's what BYU did. AJ DeMonsta, good game.
Good game.
He always has a good game, it seems like. 18 points. Not to mention they smacked Holy Cross a few days ago,
Of course.
too.
We can't forget Holy Cross.
Yeah.
That being said, just great game. That was easy. What happened was supposed to happen.
Yeah. Richie Saunders, banging threes on that. He had 26 points.
Father Richie, that second half.
He was just automatic. Same with Robert Wright. 26 points. He was hitting threes too. So I think the main thing that we saw from that game was that BYU was 1 of 11 in the first half from 3, and they ended the game 12-32. So they averaged it out to 38%, which is what you like to see from 3.
Yeah.
They're 12-32. They hit 11 threes in the second half. Delaware though was they ended up hitting less threes than BYU,
But on fire.
It was that first half especially, just bang, bang, bang. They went 11 of 24, shot 46% from 3.
Yeah, which makes you wonder. You sit there and you look at a team like that, and you're like, they're in the CUSA, right?
Yeah.
A conference that we don't even know if we can really consider a conference. They're just kind of there. And I was kind of like, I sat there and I thought, you know what? I would love to see Delaware be number 63 or number 62 on that round of 64 for March Madness because I was just impressed. It was actually pretty fun to watch them. I enjoyed watching them. They had some elite three-point shooters. Now, it did look a little weird, so I can't tell if that was just because we didn't really take it that seriously the first half. But I will say, I was impressed. Good job, Delaware.
Yeah, I think that was part of the problem. They probably thought it was going to be an easy win like Holy Cross.
Yep.
They were like, oh, let's do whatever. And then Delaware was just having an insane night.
Yep.
If you're an 0-2 team, I don't think you usually shoot that good.
Nope.
I'll be honest, I haven't seen Delaware play, but usually
That doesn't happen.
You don't shoot that good. So I think they're just having a good night. BYU eventually put it together, started hitting their threes that they need to, started getting their normal buckets. My boy Dawson Baker had a 3. That's all, but
that it's what matters most, right? He clutches up when it's perhaps maybe not most needed, but it was awesome. We love when we see our boy out there hitting the three. That was an interesting point as well. I did not see Kennard Davis out there because Dawson Baker was in the starting lineup. Now, I couldn't tell because I didn't see Kennard Davis the entire night, even on the bench, so I'm maybe I just was blind. But I'm assuming he's either sick or injured or something. But I think we would have heard about that.
I have no idea. I was also looking towards the bench. I don't know if he was in street clothes, because if he was in street clothes, then I didn't see him.
Yeah.
But
Kennard Davis, if you're live, please let us know, because where are you?
Yeah.
But having Dawson Baker as a starter, that was fine.
Yeah. And ultimately, it was a 17-point win. So there's not much to complain about.
Nope.
Yeah, the first half was a little scary. BYU's playing UConn, though, on Saturday. UConn's number 3.
I feel like that's a big reason why the game went the way it did. I think they were trying to hold back a little bit because they're really trying to prepare for UConn this week. Remember, this is a homecoming game for AJ DeBonsa, right? Mm-hmm. This is his hometown over there in Boston. And so it's I understand the culture behind it, and the kind of the context. Now, of course, they got their cheeks handed to them here by Delaware in that first half. So okay, we actually have to work hard now. And then, of course, they just killed them, right? But I think it's going to be interesting to watch because UConn had a really great game this weekend as well. And they were ahead. They put down 51 points in that first half against who did they play? Connor, pull that up.
Someone not that good.
It was a team like Delaware.
Yeah,
Columbia. Yeah, so they came in and put 50 over 27 in that first half, and then they just kind of matched in around the 30s in that second half. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know what to think right now. I'm not surprised if UConn beats BYU, just because UConn is a great team. But I could see a great opportunity for these players to really show out, especially if Richie does. I think they found the rhythm in that second half of that game.
Yeah.
I think they were like, okay, let's play for real and show people what we're about.
And they put up 51 points in the second half.
Wild.
Yeah.
And then it's very efficient 51 points. They were bang, 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 bang. So my question is, can they do that coming out of the gate against UConn and keep that up? I think they can, actually. I'm excited to see what this game does. I think it's going to be close. I'm thinking within a 5-point differential.
Yeah, like, this is like a BYU Texas Tech game.
Yep.
It's like two of the best teams in college basketball. They're playing each other. BYU still has some question marks. I'm kind of glad they faced this adversity. Like, Villanova, they went down 1. They led for most of the game. Not tons of adversity. It was like, all right, let's just score some buckets and then we're good. Delaware, they're down for a while, and they're down going into halftime, and they had to come back from that. So Delaware's not the best team. We know that. But they were still playing good, and BYU found a way to get it working again. And I think that will help against UConn, because UConn's going to come out and just, like, punch them in the mouth. They're one of the best teams. They're going to be scoring, and BYU's going to have to find a way to stop them and then score more points than them, obviously. But I'm kind of scared about BYU's rebounding.
Cada was my concern with the Delaware game. Everybody else, once we got to that second half, putting up performances, it looked right. I was like, okay, that looks normal. But the part that was off was Cada. I was a little concerned because he didn't look as defiant on the court.
Yeah. And, like, he's really the only one rebounding, too.
Yeah, I'm not seeing much from my Boop.
Uh-uh.
You see how Boscovich will sometimes sit down low in the key. I'm not seeing a lot from him, honestly. And that concerns me because we don't have backups who can do that. Because last year, Traore was a great backup. And he would grab those rebounds. He's a big guy, right?
Yeah.
And now he wasn't the athleticism of Cada, but he still did a great job of getting those rebounds.
Yeah, he was an offensive rebound machine.
Guy would grab everything.
If he'd miss a shot, too, it's just right back in his hands and it'd go up again.
So that's my concern. You want to go ahead and put the stats out right there for us?
Yeah, so BYU against Delaware, they had 26 defensive rebounds and 16 offensive rebounds, so they had a total of 42, and they totally out-rebounded Delaware as they should. But they aren't getting as many rebounds as most teams do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really because it's only Cada rebounding. AJ's not really doing it.
Yeah.
Most of the team isn't really, and they have the bodies to do it, but that's like their main concern. They're pretty stout on defense. They know how to make offense out of nothing. So that's the main thing going into UConn is rebounding. Are they going to be able to rebound the ball and get second chance points? And is their bench going to score? Because
it's the bench. It's the bench. That's the issue that we're looking at.
BYU's bench, like, guys. All right, I'm going to give you this stat line right here.
It's bad.
18 points from AJ, 8 points from Cada, Richie Saunders had 26, Dawson Baker had 3, Robert Wright had 26. That was your starting lineup for this game. Then you have Boscovich with 4 points. And then no one on the bench, no one else scored.
No other point. Which is weird because then Boot came out swinging at the beginning. I was excited. I was like, oh, we found somebody like Traore. I was like, yes, we have our backup center. Like, we can work with this. Nothing. He was a mess at the basket on the rebounds. I was like, what are you doing? I'm really concerned, especially because we want to see Boscovich step up. Boscovich has the experience with this team. Over the past couple games, we have not seen that from him. That's a very big concern, right? We had guys like Nell and stuff. Was Nell the greatest player at BYU? No.
3-point shooter.
But he was he was a sniper on the court. And when he needed to get stuff done, he got stuff done.
Yeah.
We are not seeing that kind of action from our bench players right now.
No.
And that is going to hurt them, especially this UConn game. If the bench doesn't get active, we're going to have a lot of issues.
Yeah. I want to see more from Tyler Mears, too. Like,
yes.
He was pretty good on defense. He was supposed to be the Trevin Nell of this year. He's still... Actually, never mind. He scored against Holy Cross.
He did.
But he didn't score against Villanova. He played 20 minutes against Delaware, had a 1 rebound, 0 assists, 0 points. So he needs to step it up, too. honestly, this whole bench needs to step it up. Like,
I want to see Statton out there. I'm like, Statton had some great
he
lines
played
over at Holy
2
Cross.
minutes, but
Yeah,
not
but
much from him. Yeah.
I'd like to see him get some action and really start getting there because he looks good out there in the court.
Yeah.
But they're not scoring.
What you're seeing, too, is completely different from last year. Last year,
yes,
they had one of the deepest rosters in college basketball. Everyone was getting subbed in constantly. Like, they'd pull all the starters, put in more subs, then eventually pull some of those subs, put more subs in, then pull those guys, put some of the starters back in. Like, it was just a huge rotation. This year, it's like starting five, putting the starting 5 for most of the game. So that's going to be like one of the main adjustments that we're going to see that's different from last year. They definitely are not as deep, but they are more talented in their starting lineup.
So it's going to be interesting to watch that because, right, you have a lot of star players, and I think this is actually a pretty consistent measure against a lot of Big 12 teams and a lot of teams that have star players. Other than teams like Duke, right, they got the Boozers, and you're sitting there and they have a really deep lineup. I'm looking at teams like UConn. I'm looking at teams like Arizona. I'm thinking Texas Tech. They have talented players, but we're not really seeing a whole depth roster. Now, of course, Texas Tech is a little different. Don't get me wrong on that. So I'm curious to see how that plays out this year. I don't know what's going to happen on that.
We also got some big news yesterday, too. Next year, Caleb Wakeda is going to be gone. He's a senior, great center. But BYU just got a commit from
the G League,
Abdullah Ahmed. And this guy, he's been playing in the G League for 2 years. He's known for his defense, kind of like Keita. Just a big guy, big Egyptian dude.
Mm-hmm.
Can block the ball super well. So he's basically going to be Keita's replacement. We'll see how he is on offense. I haven't heard much about his offense, just about his defense and how he's elite on defense. But he'll be enrolling in the winter, and then he'll play next year. So he's going to redshirt the rest of this year, most likely. But that'll give you some depth, at least for next year, since Keita will be gone.
For sure. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and finish off right there on that note. We're excited for Texas Tech University this week in football. We're really excited for UConn to see how that all plays out. Prayers up for the bench. We need some help here. And with that, that's all we got for you today. Join us next week. Thank you so much. Go Cougs! Woo!